Hello, everyone, and hello to you, Andre. I'm super excited that we are meeting today because we're going to speak about a very juicy topic that I feel like it's not often talked about and way too little discussed. The topic of foreplay. But maybe before we dive into all of the beautiful parts of it, I would like to introduce you and how do I know you. So, Andre,
Yeah,
it's a very humble, full of integrity, a man that actually was one of our first male clients of finishing our program Sacred Feminine Touch Ceremony. And I'm now one of his students of his new course that he just launched, the Talented Lover, which I love very much. And this was also for me, the inspiration of actually doing this video today, because you had beautiful teachings on foreplay. And I think it's
thank you.
just important to speak about. And maybe we can just start by jumping right into what is maybe foreplay according to you, and what is the significance it holds in
Yeah,
intimacy, in relationships.
yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me, and always love talking with you. Especially, I love your voice. It's very soothing to me, and I think that's kind of a good like segue into foreplay because for me, foreplay is anything that allows my body to start to relax into an experience. And it doesn't mean we have to go into what we traditionally think of as like this very erotic sexual dynamic, but foreplay can be 5 minutes, it can be 20 minutes, it can be the whole experience. So it's really anything that allows my body to start to like awaken, relax and awaken into whatever I might be doing with one or multiple people. And I believe that my relationship with foreplay has changed so much over the years because I also am a student in the realm of foreplay, with my partner and lovers teaching me about like what they like and maybe times where I've been going too fast. And so I think that's one lesson that I've learned is that I'm constantly a student in the world of learning about foreplay. But for me, it's so essential in order to like really like create a connection with someone.
And I love what you said, because I believe there's so many misconceptions also around foreplay, that it might have to be actually happening in the bed or the way it needs to look like. And for me, sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
especially also being in a long-term relationship, it's like it shifted over the years, because for me, actually, foreplay is something that happens throughout the day already. It's like maybe the kiss he gives me
Yes.
before he leaves and comes back, or whispers in my ear, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you later." That's already for me the starting point of getting me excited, instead of
Yes.
maybe being grumpy in the morning and just like coming into the routine of just
Yeah.
trying to sneak in these little moments of intimacy, of connection, of acknowledgement throughout the day. May it be just a lover, may it be a long-term relationship, or whenever there is the moment. So I feel like sometimes misconceptions are it needs to be 5 or 10 minutes. First I give you, then you give me, and it's just a bit
Mm-hmm.
of yeah, not a very
Yeah.
much of a flow, but of just allowing this. And what I mentioned, like what I loved in your course, you mentioned there's hardly any women usually complaining there's too much foreplay, but it's mostly the opposite. It's like no woman have ever said like, or hardly any woman says, "Oh, I had enough foreplay." There's always the moment
Yeah.
of it could have been more. I wasn't fully ready, and
Yeah, for me, like going back to the education piece, like my best teachers in the realm of foreplay have been the women that I've interacted with, as well as hearing, just anecdotes from clients that I've worked with as well. And yeah, I feel that, we could like dissect the difference between the archetypes of what is like the masculine and the feminine and men and women and the way we're raised. And I'm sure that has a big part to do with it. But I feel the way that me as a male-bodied individual and the way that I was brought up and raised is it's very like hard charging, it's very fast paced, it's very like get to the solution as quickly as possible to make sure that you're using your time wisely. And I've thought about that even in my sexual experiences sometimes, especially at a younger age. It's like, oh, I've got a lot of things to do, but I really want to do this too. So let's get to it have that fun and then get on with the day. And I think as I get older, as I appreciate more of just my own like embodiment and what I enjoy, the ability to like slow down, especially for men, is somewhat sometimes challenging. And it's okay that you're still learning that, but it's also okay, like in say we're talking about a man and woman dynamic here. If you're the woman and that man is going too fast or you're wanting something more, share that. Like it's okay to share that, and you can do it in a really like loving and gentle way to invite them into the experience with you. And that's how I've learned. I can't say that I created this, that I was like, oh, I just woke up and like, yes, this is how I've become a master at foreplay. No, I needed people to tell me, hey, can you slow down? Hey, can you spend more time here? Can we just cuddle? Can you, like you said, my partner, she always loves to like share with me, like, I love if we start the foreplay like in the beginning of the morning and then build up throughout the day. So come up behind me and squeeze my butt, come whisper in my ear and tell me how much you love me. Those little micro moments will build up to a culmination of something really beautiful later on. And we're, as men, we're not taught that whatsoever.
Yes, yeah, I agree. But there's also this moment of understanding these differences between men and women in the way sometimes I explain it in the way or describe the women as like almost like a cold pot of water that needs to be put on the oven, and then we turn on the heat, and it takes a
I
while
like
until
that.
water is boiling. And we cannot stand in front of the water and wish it would boil faster and just kind of try to push the heat more. It's not
Yeah,
happening. The water takes its time. The same as we cannot force a flower to blossom at a certain moment. It takes a
sure.
certain moment to happen. And this is from always the image I love to use for the women for the foreplay, for the heating up, or some even of these internal orgasms that some of them might take up to 45 minutes to actually get to a point where they're ready. And so these points are just getting neglected yeah, when if it goes just too fast, or if it goes, yeah, just not in the space of coming into this present moment. As you said, we're letting go of this goal orientation, and not just the man, also me as a woman who is like an entrepreneur and trying to get things done throughout the day. It needs some time for me to actually get out of this head and get into my body, and to just like, okay, now I don't need to achieve anything, now I can let go. And for me though, it brings the challenge also, now I have to say something to my partner again to kind of communicate, or to tell him, oh, maybe you can slow down. So it's always this fine line between me just surrendering and letting go, and then trying to control the situation by telling him of
Yeah.
how I would like it differently, or can I just surrender into whatever he has to offer right now and trying to go with that flow. So finding, for me personally, it's a challenge, this fine line of letting go and guiding.
Yeah, and I've learned so much from you and Rena in the course that I took, through inline with you guys, around how, like you mentioned, like when we talk about like maybe specifically what could be like a cervical orgasmic experience, how that can take 40 or more minutes. And that's the education that I wish more men knew about, or would be more curious and wanting to learn about, because it's just not readily available to us. And that might sound like an excuse, but if we're receiving all of this information through social media, through education in school, and that's not put in front of us, then it takes like a moment of having a conversation with someone like myself who's gone through like your course to be like, oh, check this out. And now we've started a thread, but that's, for me, that's not good enough. I feel like this needs to be broadcast like worldwide. And also to your point, when you talked about how like there's also this a little bit of the discomfort sometimes, I think, that women might have to like share more about what they're desiring, and maybe afraid to like fracture the fragile ego of the partner that they're with. Um, I understand that. I really do. And no one is going to be in your head being able to know what you're needing. So if you don't say anything, yeah, you might feel like you're doing them a favor, but are you doing yourself a favor? So with any lover, any person that I'm interacting with, it might take a little bit of time for them to feel the courage, but I share with them, please, I want to hear feedback. I want to hear if something's not feeling good. I want to hear if you are desiring something new or a different position or more foreplay. That allows me to co-create a beautiful experience with you.
Yeah, I love everything that you're saying. And I guess this is for many women the challenge of staying in the pleasing situation and putting our own pleasure behind and kind of making sure that everything is okay, that he is fine and that he gets his pleasure, and kind of feeling a bit of holding back of putting our pleasure not on the first front in a way. But also yes, I fully agree with you, Andre. And there's also this what I sometimes teach to women, to actually create themselves their own manual of what is their needs and what do they need in bed and want in bed, because oftentimes we give this responsibility away to the men and say, you just do something and I let you know if I like it or not. And then oftentimes we actually do not say anything if we don't like it, because we are in this pleasing mode. But if we actually really make ourselves a list and almost like the manual on the first date, here you go. I mean, not really, but in this way of actually really being clear of what we need, what kind of touch do we want, how long do we need certain areas, because we know the best way. There is a certain way of common knowledge where the G spot is, where's the K spot, where's the P spot, where's the cervix, how do we need to be touched, what is the certain energies maybe around these different types of orgasm. And yet every being is different, because we have a different astrological sign, we have a different temperament. Am I very fiery? Am I controlling? Am I more the submissive type? Am I more an airhead that is fully in the head and cannot go into the body? Or do I need to be fully in the flow? And so there's so many different nuances to each personality. And then comes not just my own personality, but then there comes also the masculine part, or my partner, with their own preferences and their own style of what they maybe like in bed. Maybe they're like more the fiery approach and just the biting, kissing, and the dancing tango in bed kind of version. And maybe then the partner is something different, and they need to find a ways of actually, learning each other's sexuality and learning to really ride the waves with each other. And for this, I find this, pleasure-based sexual education, I always call it, so important to get this together.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea that you just shared around like kind of like women, I mean everyone, but like let's like focus right now on women, like creating a menu of like, hey, I've learned over the years through my own self-pleasure practices or maybe with past lovers that these are the things that I really like, or this is the flow that really gets me to the point. So rather than, like you said, kind of hoping or expecting the partner to like create that scenario for you, like say, like, here you go, here is the blueprint. And if we try this out and it works, awesome. If not, we can like fine tune, because also I realize that there are techniques that work really well with me and a particular individual. And if I try to like duplicate those techniques with someone else, it might not be the same because their body is different, or the way that our energy is shared is different. And like even like anatomically, like the shape of like, you know, the cervix and the womb and like my member will like interact differently. So that's a great idea. I think I'm gonna borrow that. So thank you.
Borrowed. You can have that one.
Thank you.
And you mentioned also different techniques. So what are different techniques we might be able to use in a foreplay? What are different techniques or styles to integrate in foreplay?
Yeah, what I usually, because I've been asked this question before, and the first thing is like the baseline is communication, is first like figuring out what it is. And you can have this conversation before you go into an intimate moment. It could be right before it, or you could like have this conversation over dinner. That way, you know, the next time that you are in that time with each other, you now remember what you discussed. So the communication is first premier. Then for me is slowness, whether it be in breath, whether it be in the way that your body moves with the other, whether it be the way that you're touching someone. I find for myself that slowness allows just more of a touch connection, vice if we're going like really fast. So yeah, I'm still feeling this, but it's not the same sensation as if I'm allowing myself to just slowly crawl down. So slowness in breath, slowness in touch allows for more of that like awakening to happen, at least from my experience that I felt. And similarly, like you said, like this is something that can be built over time. So oftentimes I hear women talk about like, yeah, like my husband will like kiss me on my neck for like 30 seconds and then he'll like throw my shirt off and then he'll like put his finger inside of me and this is all within 3 minutes. Like that's not a lot of time. And like you said, I love the analogy of the cold water on a stove needing to boil. Like you're shoving your hand into ice cold water. You need that time to allow the body to awaken. So I usually, what I tell clients that I work with, especially men who are like wanting to like figure out why they're having this mismatch in connection with their female partner, is that you should be waiting at least 10 minutes, even more, before you touch their breasts, before you touch their yoni. Like focus on kissing, focus on massage, focus on working your hands through their hair, maybe even just like looking into their eyes or like just words of affirmation, all of those things. But take at least 10 minutes, which like set a timer before touching like these erogenous zones, because that's what we as men are so like trained to do, because we see that in porn, we see that in movies where someone opens the door, they start kissing passionately, close her off in less than 15 seconds, and then there's the simulation of them having sex for about another 15 seconds, and then she has this explosive orgasm, or he also has this explosive orgasm, and that's kind of a fairy tale. I've never had that experience happen in my entire life where all of that transpired that way. But we're so used to seeing these things and learning from that, like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what's attractive. So the education piece is a big one, but slowness, that's what I say is the first key, is moving slow.
I so agree, and especially these movies makes us feel so wrong about ourselves. I remember I was struggling so long in my 20s of kind of having no orgasms, and I just saw these movies like, how do they do that? And just later I realized, wow, this is really just a fairy tale. It's not reality, and my body is not supposed to be functioning like this. It's really nothing, and I felt so wrong about my own female body, that why do I take so much time? Why does it have to be
Oh,
like that? Why doesn't it functioning differently? And like with all this pressure added, it doesn't really help in the bedroom to actually really feel relaxed about it. So I
yeah.
find it extremely important to have this knowledge and to really share this knowledge. And I love the approach of the slowness. I sometimes say, yeah, make love to my knee, make love to my arm, make like of just
Mm,
really being in the moment, because there's a way of touching it slowly, but there's a way of really being present, of really touching this area, of kind of making love to that little area here, and then just with your fingers, with your kisses, and of
mm,
really arriving there in this present moment. And then
yeah.
again, letting go of the feeling, oh, we have it all figured out, because what you mentioned earlier, we have certain techniques, maybe how to touch the clitoris, how to touch the cervix. And then we thought, oh yeah, now I got it. We're getting all confident. And the next day we try the same thing again. And she's like, oh no, what are you doing? Because also we are changing, like especially in the
Hmm.
feminine form, like it's a constant flow of hormones running through ourselves. And so we are shifting and changing, and what maybe feels good even in 1 minute, maybe 10 minutes later you keep doing the same thing, we might say, oh no, it's actually overstimulated, or no, it's too much. And then
Right.
many people get confused, like, yeah, but you just told me that works, or like, you just told me it's beautiful. Yeah, but now not anymore. So I'm just trying to hold on to some techniques, hold on to the timer, and also let it go at the same time, of just
Hmm.
it might not work in this way, but
Yeah,
keeps trying
yeah.
again.
I first I want to say I appreciate you sharing about that, about your experience around like wondering like if the way that your body was made up was like malfunction or wrong, or just wasn't operating the same way because how you were seeing in these movies, like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. And I honestly I haven't like thought about that deeply, like thinking about like women who see this and then like say, oh, I've had clients come to me who feel like they're broken. I've had clients come to me like, I can't have an orgasm. There's something wrong with me. And we then go through our experience together. and oftentimes they're able to achieve it, but it takes time, and they're like, oh, I never thought that was possible, and because they were not having one in 3 minutes, so like, oh, there's something wrong. So I so appreciate you sharing that piece. It really puts things into perspective for myself. And I'm actually wondering, like, for you, like the way that you have seen foreplay evolve throughout your life, and whether how you're providing it or receiving it, how has that been for you? Like, what is foreplay for you?
It definitely shifted because in my sexuality, let's say in the beginning, it started more with having different lovers, and for sure the butterflies are there. The chemistry is always like
Mm.
on high. I was young and I was like just full on libido and oozing out of sexual energy, and just to meet someone. And it was much easier to get aroused, to get into the space of just like I had a different life. I was living on an island for so much in a spiritual community, and I was just relaxed and really taking care of myself and having the time to indulge in massages and all of this. So my
Mm.
body was ready, was relaxed. I was doing several hours of yoga every day and meditation. And so when I was seeing my lover or my partner, I was just like, yeah, ready. And the foreplay was not so much. I was actually almost getting annoyed by foreplay because I was like, let's get
I've
to
heard that
the,
too.
let's get to
Hmm.
that place. And now being a mom of a 5-year-old, having everyday life, like it's just a different way. Being in a relationship for over 10 years, for sure it shifted our relationship. And that's why for me it's now much more important, these moments throughout the day of
Hmm.
these acknowledgement of maybe getting a slap on my ass when he walks by, or like these
Mm.
juicy moments when he walks up the stairs and just looks at me and it's like giving me the eyes or something like this. These moments that are almost non-verbal communication of
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, something is building up, of something is building up, and of really keeping this acknowledgement for the partner and this gratitude for the partner, and trying to keeping the magic of
Mm.
keeping this magic in
I
the
like that.
relationship without kind of getting used to a certain way of touching or trying to get out of a certain routine, but of just, yeah, of just building it up again and again. And because after 10 years, you know your partner quite well of what works and what doesn't work so well. And we always need to renew ourselves because we're keeping evolving, even though we are with the same person. And so yeah, this is for me kind of, it definitely shifted. Now I'm in much more need of a foreplay than I was
Hmm.
maybe 15 years ago without having a child and without this everyday kind of moment. So my body shifted, everything shifted for me, myself. And yeah, so it's a learning curve still, like things, even though I'm working with sexuality, I'm working with women, I'm helping other women really going deeper into their orgasms, and I feel the need internally myself to constantly redesign my own sexuality and rediscover it, because it keeps shifting in my own body and it's not the same as it was before. And not even
Hmm.
negatively meant, like I think
Sure.
it's getting better and better and it shifts, but it's just a kind of, oh no, I like this, I never liked it, so I'm happy we tried it again and didn't kind of brush it off because 10 years ago
Yeah.
I might not have liked it, and now it's like, oh good, now I love it
Yeah.
again, so let's try it again. Of keeping the doors open, literally, all ends.
Yeah. And I also like how you said, like, it doesn't have to be a negative thing that there's a shift. Like, and I've also changed my relationship around that as well. But I think oftentimes, if something was feeling really good for us and then all of a sudden it doesn't, or there's something new, then we might like get down on ourselves or like disappointed because, oh man, I really enjoyed that, or I really enjoyed that dynamic. And here's the new shift. But how can we like create a new relationship with that and find a way to like allow ourselves that time to like transition into the shift? So yeah, it doesn't have to be something like negative. It can be something that can allow you like newness. I think that's one of the things that happens a lot in like especially long-term relationships is things get stale, things get boring, the same like routine starts to like no longer like excite us. So here are ways that our body is allowing us that like rekindling.
Yeah, I agree. And also of not putting my sexuality onto my partner, the responsibility of saying,
Ooh,
okay, now you are kind of
yes,
responsible for making me an orgasm or getting me aroused. So that
yes.
getting my body aroused is already a process, not just a physical process, but it's also a mental process, an emotional process. How can I open myself up to my
Hmm.
partner? Do I hold any grudge against him? Do I have any resentments? Like all of this, of just really checking in with myself and like really looking into what can I do in order to increase. And I'm feeling like maybe I have to start reading literature on erotic, like erotic literature. Maybe I have to start
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
certain movies or whatever to help me to get back into this. Maybe I need to start striptease, like for myself, dancing for myself naked, and not just going into the space and like whatever works, of just getting myself into this juicy energy.
Can we also name for all bodies, men, women, non-binary, however you identify, like that the orgasm, while it's a beautiful experience, doesn't have to be your goal. And I feel like whether you're the one like providing, like if you're the one taking charge or you're the one receiving, like there might be a lot of pressure in your mind of, I have to make this person come, or I have to come, or else this wasn't like a successful experience. And I can tell you there's so many times when I'm having the most fun out of any time ever, and I am not orgasming, or I even like remove it off the table because it allows me to elongate that experience and build and edge and keep going and going. And there's a lot of like pressure I feel when we see like movies or when we hear about people like talking about that how easy they might orgasm, that now we've created like this expectation of if it doesn't happen then something's wrong. And I want to say right now that you can have a beautiful experience without it and allow that to build into what could be another experience where you that might take place.
I resonate so much with what you're saying there. And I think this is so important. I keep mentioning that also to my clients that I work with yoni massages or with this intimate work, accepting the numbness, maybe accepting the pain, whatever might be there, of just being with it and not hoping that it should be different. Because with this acceptance and with this arriving in this present moment, the magic can actually unfold. And with this, many times things are unfolding, as you said, like the whole wow, like I did not even expect that this could feel so good or that this could go into this direction without
Yeah.
having any certain ideas of how it's supposed to look like. Because many of us women do not know how it feels to have an internal orgasm. And we are chasing for a certain way of energy, maybe because we're used to the clitoral orgasm, and now we are trying to chase the same form. And how do I find this? And if I let go of this, I can actually really arrive in this present moment and feel that maybe the energies inside are feeling differently and the orgasm will build up in a different form than it does when I'm looking more into the orgasmic states of the clitoris, for example, of just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautifully said. Yeah. And again, something I learned a lot from you, and a lot from Rena in the course that you offer. And um, I feel where, like we talked about my course, that's, more geared towards men, but where men can really start to improve the way that they connect, the way that they also feel connected to themselves, is talking about this, talking about these subject matters, whether it be with other men or whether it be with your partner or whether it be like through another course from someone who's been doing this for a while, that allowing yourself the freedom to like feel expressive in this world. Because the more that we allow ourselves the freedom to feel expressive, the more we allow ourselves the freedom to feel anything. And we have a long way to go in the world where I see men like being able to fully tap into that. There's still a lot of like old ideology that we're like having to be this stoic rock of a person that doesn't show emotion, and that's what's attractive to women. And yeah, for some, maybe most that I know, that archetype is slowly dying.
Yes, I so agree. And I thought it's a wonderful way of, yeah, closing our talk today, of having this fine line of, yes, like let's really all just accept who we are with what we are, and of
Mm-hmm.
just yeah, riding the waves in this way and just going along and going deeper and deeper on our own journey. Thank you so much, Andre, for this wonderful juicy talk.
Yeah.
I
Thank
was
you for
melting
having
several
me.
times of just listening. It's like, ah. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, I love our time together. And again, thank you so much for the course that you and Rena have offered me. It's really expanded my knowledge base in the work that I do, as well as the way that I connect intimately with the people in my life. So, really, thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Andre. Have a wonderful day.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye.